7th grade Inferences Standard 3 asks students to informally assess the degree of visual overlap of two numerical data distributions with similar variabilities, measuring the difference between the medians by expressing it as a multiple of the interquartile range. Students will use measures of center and measures of variation to look for similarities and differences in two different data sets. The human box plot task can be found within the 7th grade frameworks. This is an excellent task to use to review what students learned previously in 6th grade about box and whisker plots, to move them forward to how they're going to apply that information in 7th grade. As students entered the classroom, they were given a card with a number on it. They were asked to arrange themselves in order from least to greatest, and then to find the median of their data set.
Well, there's duplicate numbers. There's two twins. Think of something. She's the middle. Twins. She merges She's the middle.
After students found the median of their data set, they were asked to find the first quartile and the third quartile of their data set. As she was counting to make sure there were 7 on this side, 7 on this side, and even though they had the same number, she felt where her position was, she fell in the middle, okay? What do we call the middle number?
Median.
We call it the median, okay? Now, I'm going to focus on the low numbers. I want you guys that are my low numbers, I want you to split yourselves in half.
I'm alone now.
Alright, are y'all split in the middle? Okay, so I want you to look at the group. We've got 3 people and then 3 people, and so Ryan was in the middle. What will we call Ryan?
Median.
Okay, he's the median. He's the median of the lower group, and we call that the first quartile. So Pat's in the middle, so what will we call her? We used yarn to wrap around the first quartile and the third quartile to represent the box of the box and whisker plots, and then we discussed the whiskers. Following the human box and whisker task, students will complete Shakespeare versus Harry Potter, another task that can be found in the 7th grade frameworks. Students will use what they learned about box and whisker plots to analyze data from 2 pieces of literature and create 2 different box and whisker plots with their data.
Wait, what line? 5.
Students will flip a dice to obtain a random sample of the number of letters in the words in each of the passages. After they collect a random sample, students will begin to analyze their data. After students analyze their data, they will begin to construct arguments on which passage is more difficult to read.
The fact that if you look at all the stuff in Harry Potter, even the minimum is bigger than this minimum, and all the numbers are bigger, well, rather than the maximums of this.
Harry Potter's.
Yeah, it just has more letters, it seems, in general, from the excerpts it took out.
Which one does?
Harry Potter.
Okay.
Interquartile range. It's like smaller and lower, which means the words are
No, there are longer words in Harry Potter.
in the Shakespeare.
So pretty much they're all the same except for the outlier right here on Shakespeare's. And so I would think that when America,
Basically, I feel like it's like the same, but like different. Because like there's like that, it's got weird words in there, so they just kind of make you think about like what it would be.
so maybe I think it may be America dumbing down just a little bit, not much though.
But yeah.
Candy bars is a mathematics assessment project task. In this task, students are given data about the number of candy bars eaten by males and females. They must use this data to create box and whisker plots and to analyze the data.
If the girls they're already eating a lot anyways, based on like there's only like 10 of them on here and they're already eating a lot. So if you had like the same amount of girls as you had the guys, then the girls would probably eat more.
About your median.
Well, I had that both male and female had the exact same median, just because the female, they might have had less people. Chris might have talked about less people, but they had higher numbers than the male. They ate more candy bars than the males, but the males have more people that were talked about.
The interquartile range was different. The girls was 15 and the boys was 11. So like the girls had a wider range of numbers and the boys had a more close together range.
Okay, good. This task provides an excellent opportunity for students to construct viable arguments through their writing. To Keep, to Fire, to Give Cash is a formative assessment learning task that can be found on page 46 in Unit 5 of the frameworks. Formative assessment tasks allow students to demonstrate their prior understandings and mathematical practices and involve students in resolving their own difficulties and misconceptions through a structured classroom discussion. This change in classroom culture requires for students to take a more responsibility of their own work. It engages them in a productive struggle. Students study fewer tasks but in greater depth, and the teacher's role is to prompt students to reflect and reason through their ideas. Students are given 2 sets of data on 5 different teachers that's presented to them in the form of box and whisker plots. One set of data represents the standardized testing scores for that teacher's students. Another set of data represents the grades for that teacher's students. The students in the class are given the task of deciding which 2 teachers should be fired, which 2 teachers should be able to keep their job, and which 1 teacher deserves to get a $25,000 bonus.
He needs to go because his grades in his class.
Yeah, they aren't good at either one. I'm saying fire Dr. E because his is 65.
And they aren't good CRCC scores.
Miss C should get the 25 grade.
Yeah, about 50%. And the other 50%, 25%.
Well,
About 50%.
No. More than 75% passed. Less than 25%.
No, 50%, about 50% exceeded, about 25% passed. Well, no, about
A little bit more than 25% passed.
Mr. A and Mr. E on this paper both appear to be lower, but it's going to be hard to decide.
After he's already done all the data, he's going to get fired because, he had one kid that made a 20, his lower quartile is a 50, and his median is a 65-ish. So, his
And Mr. B,
50% of his data is failing.
I think Mr. B's class should get a raise.
This lesson provides students with the opportunity to informally assess the degree of visual overlap of 2 numerical data distributions with similar variabilities and could provide students with the opportunity in measuring the differences between the medians by expressing it as a multiple of the interquartile range as stated in the standard. Understand that measuring the differences between the medians by expressing it as a multiple of the interquartile range is one way to informally assess the degree of visual overlap of 2 numerical data distributions with similar variabilities, but it is also important to note that it is not the focus of the standard for either instructional or assessment purposes.